question. How do we plan for the future in a time of uncertainty? So I just thought I'd open it up and give you guys a chance to just say what impacted you in here that you said, wow, great idea. That's something we can help clarify in this time of uncertainty. Did you guys have anything that really stood out to you as we begin?
Well, I thought about the five attributes of a church in decline.
Oh,
And since
yes.
I'm the missions director, I looked at inward focused with no strategy to reach new people.
Mm-hmm.
I think we kind of have a strategy, but it's not, I don't think it's formalized, is perhaps, maybe it should be, I don't know.
Yeah.
Acts 1 8, I think we do pretty good on the international level. We intentionally have witness in Muslim countries, and we do work in Africa and Asia. So I think that's fairly good. I think we're kind of weak on the national level. We support Rainbow Acres, and
Uh-huh.
I want to get into another thing I know. But locally, I think our focus is homeless. And yes, we do participate in Family Promise, which is a program that houses homeless people.
Uh-huh.
We try to feed the homeless, on a weekly basis. So we kind of have a strategy, but it's not really, I don't know. I think it kind of just happened without our forming it, so to speak. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something I might have to look at more closely.
Sure. Maybe that helps you find a new way to uh, make that strategy more clarified
Yeah.
and more direct. I know some of our churches in that regards too. I think if you were a longtime American Baptist church, international missions was a great thing. It was easy to support, and a lot of our older folks said, "Yeah, that's where we give all of our money to."
We
But
still support Walt White.
yeah,
Yep.
there you
There you
go.
go.
Yeah, with lots of the same folks we probably know in different places. And at the same time, I don't say give that up, but I love the term that international ministries came up with a little while ago. It's called "Go Global." If you
Yes.
remember that
Yep.
that they
I
did.
remember.
Yeah, and global was, hey, go global, but also don't forget about missions as local as well. And a lot of our churches, that needs to be part of their strategy is a both and, not a either or. Because there's lots of folks. What is it? I think the U.S. now is the third most unchurched country in the world.
Yeah. Korea
Um,
is like a big missionary church now.
yeah. So instead of sending our missionaries overseas, maybe we need to do more missions work here in the States where we make disciples. And I guess I had a vision once that if we could actually do that and America became again this sender of missionaries, it would be like going back 50 years.
Yeah.
Because I was in a church in Kabina for a while, and we had an Indonesian church that came, and I said, "Why are you here in the United States?" And they basically looked me in the eye and said, "We came to bring Jesus back to America.
Wow.
Wow.
Because you brought him to us, but now we're bringing him back." I'm going, "Oh man, what a shot in the face!"
Yeah.
And that was their reason to be here.
That's interesting because Indonesia is such a Muslim country. That's what the
Uh,
most Muslim country in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they were at that time, which was I think about 8 years ago, they were about 10% Christian, and
Wow.
at their growth rates, then they were projected to be about 50% Christian by 2025. That's 4 years
Really?
from now. Yeah, they
Wow.
were growing like at
Whew.
300% a year. I went over to see why, and when you become a Christian there, you have to make the decision that I'm willing to die for this because
Yeah, that's true.
about 2 out of 10 that accept the Lord are killed within a week after they make their decision,
Gosh, yeah.
and even
Wow.
more are persecuted. I met a young man at a Christian camp over there that had been in a jihad group, and he met the Lord through his grandmother who left a Bible in his house, and he read it
Mm.
one day and said, "Man, being a Muslim's doing nothing for me. Jesus would do a lot more," and invited Jesus into his life. And he and his wife were ostracized from their family. He lost his job. He was an engineer because he wasn't a Muslim anymore. He was embarrassing them. And he was spending his life going from place to place trying to find a job. But in all of that, he was still witnessing for Christ
Yeah.
and thanking God that he had found the eternal Lord and Savior. And it wasn't Allah. It was amazing. So it was life and death to be a Christian there. And so it's just spreading like wildfire. So
I kept looking over my shoulder when I was in Indonesia, I tell you.
well, we
I was
did
the only
too.
Christian in the city, so I get
We did too. We were taken around by a few pastors. One of them was on the top 10 list of Muslims hit list to be
oh my God.
offed.
Sure you
So
want to travel with him?
I brought him to California. He spoke on KKLA for Frank Pastore, and we
Oh,
didn't announce who he was until the day of it, because if they knew where he was, they would have sent people after him.
right.
And
Yeah.
he came and
Oh,
spoke,
cool.
and just, oh, it's just so meaningful. But
Yeah.
yeah, there were lots of people trying to bring Jesus back to America, and some of them are American churches. And I think that's such an important mission.
There was a story of that girl in Ohio that converted. She was a Muslim family and she converted,
Uh-huh.
and she had to run for her life
Yes,
in the United States.
yes. Well,
Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
yeah, they consider it, you're betraying the family, you're
Yeah.
right.
betraying the faith, and
Praying your
for
God.
that, you're
Yeah,
an infidel, and so it's okay to kill you. In fact, that would be a normal.
right.
We don't understand that here, but
Well, I
we have
always
our
thought the difference was, we try to love people into the kingdom, and the Muslims try to, I guess, sort of threaten you into the kingdom. And I think loving somebody into the kingdom works better than trying to force them into the.
yeah. Well, I took some Islamic missional classes to understand what they believe, and
Huh?
wow, it's so opposite of who our God is.
Mark, you should have a class in that because I read through the Quran and I have some questions.
Uh, well, I have some friends who could do much better at it. One of my friends is a missionary out of Australia. He came and stayed with Vicky and I. He's been threatened. He's on the top 10 list too. And
Gosh.
he went to, I think it's Lebanon,
Hmm.
where the university there teaches, it's the highest university you
Yep.
can go to learn the Quran.
Yeah.
And he actually went there to learn the Quran so they would respect him, because most of us don't know it.
I know
And
someone.
while he was there, he got threatened multiple times. But while he was there, also a bunch of people came to Jesus, which is why he was really there. And
Yeah.
it was an amazing story,
Mm.
uh, the stories he would tell. He and his wife, Annette. Um, anyway,
Yeah. Cool.
we got a lot more missions work to do. So good. That was clarified for you, that maybe clarify your mission strategy and your
Yeah.
inward focus as an older church. That's a real norm. How about you, Art? Anything stand out to you?
Um, well, I was just looking at that in regards to the attributes. I think for where I'm at, probably the challenge or the thing that needs more clarity is in our leadership, because um,
Yeah.
our church just over the years has had just different pastors come and go,
Yeah.
and even for me, I'm new. I just started in 2020 January, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So we have our leadership's a little bit more complex because we have two language congregations. So we have leadership on that side. Then
Mhm.
I'm on the English speaking side. And then also we have a board. So sometimes clarity on who makes decisions or how the direction is set. Um, um, uh, that's something that's still in the process of working through. So I think
Yeah.
that's um, kind of like I know what I'm doing and all on the English speaking side, and they have their agenda or things that they're doing on the Chinese
Chinese
speaking
side.
side.
Yeah.
But sometimes how the two are going to work together, or so that's our challenge. And
Yeah.
part of it has to do with language and culture and
Right.
philosophy of ministry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And who you're both targeting to reach too. As an example, I know the Chinese church is really reaching traditional Chinese people brought up in the church. At least was my experience there. And whereas the English side was always set up to go after the students and younger people that were nearby in the Irvine area. So the
well,
target.
Well, our
different.
situation's different. No, it's our situation actually the Chinese side are reaching newer people coming in. They're immigrants that are moving in
Right.
into the area, young families. So
Oh,
they've been able to do that,
good.
you know. But our English ministry is in a way it's kind of like you have to do a reset.
Hmm.
So so at least the positive thing in COVID, it kind of like reduced everything. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like we're back down to like kind of like bare minimum
Okay.
and all. So um, I I do look at like as a reset. So we're planning to reopen in person on the first Sunday of June,
Okay. Good.
and so we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but I mean, in the meantime, though, actually this year, actually doing it all online by Zoom, able to do a discipleship with or disciple, I guess clarity disciple making
Yeah.
with. I've been able to do two groups with that. Um,
Good.
um, Actually, in some ways, since we meet online, it's been easier to meet with the people versus if we had to meet
In
in
person.
person.
Yeah.
But the limitation is training people in some of the things. Um, it's hard to do like training them how to do evangelism or sharing their faith. It doesn't really work that well online because you need to go and meet
Yeah.
up with people
Yeah. Have
or
coffee with them,
something.
be face to face, and do some of that. It's sometimes a little more difficult. Yeah. It
Yeah.
sounds like you got some clarity in a couple areas. One is a discipleship strategy. One is, uh, I think you didn't call it downsizing, but you were reducing the complexity of the church, and you still have some issues to address with leadership. You as a senior pastor of the English side, and then how do you integrate together with uh, your collaborate together with the Chinese side? And I know Pastor Ray and myself have multiple, before you got there, we had multiple conversations with the Chinese pastor to try and
Hmm.
let you guys have freedom to do what you wanted and how would that work, even talk about a new structure of leadership. But we also realized, as you probably have, that under the current situation, that is just about impossible. They have no mindset to have any of that change. Yeah, at least that's what we heard. So working within the system and finding a way to lead and empower people to lead. Yeah, that's a that's a fantastic God-given goal. So hey, and I was kind of impacted by the lady that came on from the parish. You heard do you remember
Bishops.
hearing her? She was talking
Oh,
about
the bishop, yeah.
Oh,
she had 80 churches. I think she was in the New York or Pennsylvania or somewhere area. And
oh, okay.
Tony was asking her some questions about, COVID and how's it really impacted their small churches. And I really resonated with the fact that most of them were small churches. They didn't have a lot of large churches, very much like TM. We do have large churches and medium sized, but 80% are small. And that she said it forced change on them that they wouldn't do if COVID hadn't happened. And she saw that as an opportunity. Uh, um, so and then she started talking about change for smaller churches that are coming from a background like hers with a tradition, an ingrained, valued tradition, and that how do we help churches that have that tradition um, basically keep those and preserve those that are of value, but throw off the ones that are more of the how-to um, and that doesn't work anymore, but keep the values of some of the tradition that she saw her role as renewal and revitalization. And what she said, I don't know if you remember this, but she said, smaller churches are harder to change than larger churches.
Mhm.
George, I don't know if you agree with that. You're in a larger church, but you got to convince more people in a larger church. But there's a lot of heel marks on the center aisle of smaller churches that don't go away, meaning they're getting drug in a lot of directions of change, and they have long histories, and they claim it as, wow, we're not changing. And
I
yet she
think
was seeing some good movement from COVID, how forcing people to make some of the changes they've been trying to for years. I'm sorry, Sharon, go ahead.
that's okay. Sorry. In that book, The Dirt Matters, I think
Uh-huh.
that's where I was reading that as you
Oh,
bring
good.
in new people, you can have your discipleship classes and right away, right up front, state what your values are so that
Yeah,
if they don't agree with it, then they can go find a better place for them. But for the ones who
exactly.
do agree with it, if you keep doing that, eventually these newcomers that aren't so entrenched in the tradition are able
Yes.
to kind of sway the mood. So that might be
Mhm.
one way, like for the Chinese, as the new Chinese come in, if you can get somehow to expose them to some of the ideas of, I don't know, sharing or, collaborating with each other type ideas.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly how that could happen, but that might be a way.
yeah,
I I agree. I think generally speaking, I know this won't always be true, but generally speaking, I have found that those churches who have gained some size have done that because they've actually worked through that strategic alignment pyramid that
uh-huh.
Tony was going over. Both Amy and Tony went over it. And I think one of the things that I have recognized is most every church that I have been to or had the opportunity to work with have some sort of purpose or mission statement.
Yeah,
Fewer churches are actually aligned with that statement.
yes,
And that's
yeah,
such a huge difference that people don't realize. Is it's one thing to put words on a paper and it's another thing to actually be aligned to that. And
Yeah.
I just can't say enough about that strategic alignment pyramid that they were
yeah.
both referring to, because that obviously, I mean, you
Here it is.
probably all remember. Thank you, Mark. You probably all remember that strategic alignment pyramid actually came from a previous session, not
Yeah,
Mhm.
part of
yeah,
this one. But I'm glad he went back to it because um, you know he he uh, he did talk about what are those things, and you guys have already alluded to it, that need to go, that we need to stop doing. And one of the disciplines over the years that High Desert Church has tried to do is we do the opposite of what many do. We don't do a to-do list. We always do a not to-do list.
Mhm.
And that has just been a strategic shift where we do the not to-do list because we realize that so many good things creep in and keep us from being great as a ministry. And we robbed some stuff from Jim Collins' Good to Great and stuff, but I don't think you can actually do some sort of paring back of your ministry or a not to-do list until you've done the hard work of that whole strategic alignment pyramid, because you don't know what to cut out and you don't know what to stop doing unless you are really focused on that. So I couldn't say enough about that. I resonate with the not to-do list or the paring back on things that aren't strategically aligned with our mission. But you can't get there without doing the hard work of making sure you're actually aligned with your mission values.
Mm.
yeah, totally agree. Hey, I'm going to apologize now. We're building a new bathroom today, and they're jackhammering out the concrete, something nice and quiet. And uh, it's in, it's in the wall next to me. So if it gets too loud, just tell me, I'll mute it. But Georgia, I really resonate with the same thing you just said. He was showing in that well, I think it was Amy. She kind of went down here and said, the stuff below here and the stuff above certain spots. So all this is the foundation, and starting with the why we exist is so important. Even before you do that list of the not to do, which I've done in a bunch of churches that I've been in as a transitional pastor. I start with what do we keep? What do we throw out? And what do we do new? kind of a list, and that's kind of a throwout list. But if it's not based on the mission and the core beliefs, then you're just kind of going everywhere. And getting that alignment of everybody in the whole church, I know that the folks up at High Desert have done a great job with that. I don't know if that's Tom or Jack or you, George, but there seems to be a lot of alignment of, especially the making disciples with the oikos movement is all part of your foundation. Can you see that okay? Or is it?
No, I can.
Yeah.
I think, you look at that in organizational strategies, if you were to just simply look at that pyramid, that's a 6th level. And that means you have 5 levels to work through before you should even talk about a strategy.
Yeah, which is before you get to the how.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
remember what, I love the one line, get the how out of here.
Yeah, I picked that up too.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're recording this. I shouldn't have said that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That will be in the recording.
Of course, those are those little lines we will never forget.
Yeah.
But I love the fact, I mean, if you can remember that and get the how out of here until you're at the right place on the pyramid, that actually is pretty clever, the way they said that.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. I think there's a guy by the name of Simon Simek who has a book out called Always Start with Why before you do anything. And that's really the mission movement of what we're talking about here, the foundation of the church. Why do we exist? What do we believe and who are we becoming? That foundation is so critical. And those things get played around with, unfortunately, in small churches a lot, especially if you have a lot of pastoral changes, that it changes so fast that people don't have a chance to adjust. To me, the mission always is the same. Jesus gave it to us in the Great Commission and the Great Commandment. We just say it in different words. I know Purpose Church says, everyone, everywhere, following Jesus. And to me, that's kind of cool. That means we're to go into all the nations, make disciples. They know Jesus. So it's a simple way to say it, but that's their mission, all based on the Great Commission and the Great Commandment. And then they can move into other areas. Yeah.
It was interesting that she said the blue never changes.
Right.
Yellowish, that can change.
Exactly.
It should change.
Yeah. Yeah. So a pastor like you, Art, can cast a vision based on the foundation that doesn't change, but the vision might be for a 1-year vision or a 5-year vision. I heard that from them too, that maybe in COVID, we can't really see our way out of a 5-year vision, but we can certainly do a 1-year and get some clarity on what we should do in the next year, setting some organizational goals and then some organizational strategies, the how to. Yeah. So I think this is helpful. Yeah. A helpful way to look at it. Well, let's since it's so helpful, let's go to another page.
Well,
Unless we want to discuss that more. I think that this is the crux of what they were talking about in action steps and getting clarity in the middle of uncertainty is always around this. This part never changes. The center section will change. And then it tells everybody, how do I contribute? What does the ministry I'm a part of do to help reach this mission? So it's a good alignment pyramid. George, do you guys have something like this or use something like this at High Desert?
Yeah, we do. But we haven't spelled it out in such a specific graphic package we're building on each level. But our core beliefs and mission are extremely
Very
detailed.
tight.
So we have our purpose statement, that we pull out of Ephesians chapter 4. Preparing people to change their worlds for Christ, and that's always been our as long as I've been here. Our mission, why we exist, is in our core belief. By the way, our core beliefs and our mission, I don't know, sometimes I switch that because we have our purpose statement and then we have what we call our core values. that are truthful, helpful, durable, and enjoyable are our core values
Yep.
that drip through everything. But then our, what we would say that is our, making disciples strategy is our 5 purposes of the what we call the Oikos challenge.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so that is very articulated, that everything we do points to help prepare people. So preparing people to change their worlds for Christ, then we take that world, and instead of making it, we believe God wants to change the whole world and we have mission strategies. But for the
Yeah.
average person sitting in your congregation, we want to make sure they know that their world, they have supernaturally and strategically been placed there
Yeah.
by God to minister. So that's the people around them, those things.
Yeah. That's
So
great. I always think it's so clear when I come to High Desert on what you're really about. And Tom's been preaching the same thing for what, 25 years?
and
Um,
you're thank you, but that's right. Now the direction,
uh-huh.
has changed,
Yeah.
from single site campus to multi-site campus to,
Right.
our strategies for leadership. So many things have changed over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Even
which
the-
can, but the mission is still the same. Core
Exactly.
beliefs are still the same. And the idea of making even that organizational strategy of oikos in the 5 levels
Right.
has fleshed itself out probably a little bit differently. So fantastic. Good to
Yep.
hear. I love that consistency. And what's interesting is when a church stays with that and it's working, your church keeps growing.
It
And
does.
if it changes too quick, like every 5 years you change your mission, what? You can change your vision, but not your mission. Yeah. So that consistency helps more people say that's what this church is about. So one of those important things for us to remember. Hey, let's talk through the questions on the. I'll stop this share here and see if I can find the other one. Where was it? Oh, I guess it was there.
Yeah, I have it on, I printed out the manual, so I have it. So I
Okay.
don't,
Yeah. I don't
Page
know if I
30.
have the rest of the workbook. I do. I just need to move
That's-
this out of the
Well, we
way.
were really, once you get past the the decline and the kingdom impact page, then it's just the takeaway page. That was
Yeah.
pretty much the end of it.
Which is right here. Action steps and discussion questions. So what did you guys think of these? Were these helpful for you, Art and Sharon? On let's just walk through like mission and vision. He said, because they're foundational, what's our purpose? You need to get some alignment with all of your leadership team. What's God calling us to do in the future? That even in the middle of COVID, you can start figuring some of that out, even if it's just on a 1-year basis. And how will we know whether or not we're winning? I like that idea. Tony brings that up a lot. How do we know that we're doing the right things, that we're on purpose, that we're winning at our mission? I'm hoping that those are great action steps for you to lead your leadership team through. Art, would your rest of your team have value in actually reviewing that at all?
well, I mean, for me, actually, 1 through 4, I'm good with.
Okay.
Actually, the key thing where I'm at, where my church is at, and like
Okay.
I said, is number 5.
Okay.
Okay,
Empowering leaders.
because all the other things I don't have a issue with it, and that's our, like I said, our church, because of the history, turnover,
Okay.
how it's organized.
Okay.
I it says because I think it's the term actually said empowerment. So where it is, and I think that our challenge is just that since we have new people, other people, is that it's still this issue. Well, for me, the key thing is trusting whether our board trusts the leaders or pastors, and actually it's both ways.
Yeah.
So and then empowerment, with that. So and
Okay.
um uh and then leadership of I mean, for me, there are people that we have there that they know how to manage, but that's not necessarily leading. So they
Right.
can manage programs or something,
Mhm.
but it's a whole different ball game when it comes to if we're leading people, you
Right.
know. So
Okay. Well, good. Well, so what's your plan on how to attack that then? If that's the area your church needs help in, is this something you talk
um,
through with your, I mean, with your team, um, and with your
well,
Chinese church?
well, I think the thing is I have limit. Well, I guess with COVID, we haven't really met together that much. You know, everything we do is by Zoom. So some of the key people that are involved with leadership or so, I don't, we've been just trying to work to keep the boat afloat.
Sure.
And our latest is that we're at least coming into the 21st century or something. Our, our main thing is that we can set it up that we can live stream and get all that set up. So,
Okay.
which is good. At least we're getting that put in. We'll be doing a dry run this week to do it.
Oh,
Do
good.
it. So, um, yeah. So I think the thing is, it's very relational. So just talking to people, understanding them knowing me, and then okay, so it's um, like I said, our staff is more complicated because we have the English side and then the Chinese speaking side. So it's
Yeah.
even the communication there or relationship, which haven't had time to do because basically I'm in my department, they're in their department.
Right.
But
You're in your silos.
that's a way to describe it. So um, and who's going to take initiative or who will do something to do that. I mean, our situation is actually with our board and our leaders. I don't know when there's the last time they actually had any kind of meeting or retreat together, like I mean George had in Dana Point, but we're actually everyone would get together just just to talk, you
Yeah.
know, just to connect, not even talk about ministry.
Mhm.
Um, so that I mean that's where we are. Literally, some people don't really know me. They don't know anything about me, my background, and the same with me. I don't know, really don't know them. So
Yeah.
and we haven't been able to do that under COVID. So Lord willing, when we start to meet up, we can, um, you know, start 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 back up with that because everything kind of came to a halt mid-March of 2020. So
Yeah. Well, maybe the one section also for you is reducing the complexity. Right now, you've had to prune some things, and instead of those things coming back, maybe you leave some of those things. We don't do those. At the same time, the one that hit me for you was this streamlined governance and decision making to mobilize people. Um, that once you can meet face to face with some of those leaders, maybe that can be part of the conversation. And as you streamline and get that decision making done, it'll help you mobilize more people. I don't know. What do you think?
no, it will, but we have to sometimes go back to square one. I had a meeting a year ago,
Yes.
and even with key leaders, we're saying, what is the org chart? And
Yeah.
it wasn't clear,
Uh huh.
even to some of our leaders, who reports to who, or
Right.
it's even though we're not that big, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Okay.
that's,
Well, you got some work to do there.
yeah.
Yeah. And Sharon, I just looking at this reach strategy because you mentioned it earlier up here. Um, if those are the kind of questions that would be helpful for you as you work in the mission department field, are those helpful questions?
Oh, those are good questions. I added one that they had mentioned, what questions are the people in the community asking?
Oh yeah, that's a
We
good one.
did Kingdom Analytics, and there's a bunch of information in there about what the community thinks and who the community is.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's good for us. I mean, we spent a lot of time pouring through all that material and trying to, consolidate
Synthesize it.
it into a page or two.
Yeah,
So I think it's like just keep on following up. You know, one of the things we figured out that we just need more, maybe more small groups, because to accommodate different interests and different needs. We recently started a men's Bible study, so that was one step in the right direction.
Good.
There's another lady interested in studying something about grief for those who are in grief.
Yeah.
We'll
Maybe
see
a
where
grief
that
share.
goes.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think these are good questions. We just, and then the under number 3, I think where we're weak is build discipleship makers. I mean, we have our leaders, but tell you the truth, we're all approaching 80. So
Oh,
be someone
Yeah.
younger, so be trained to kind of, you know,
Time
step
to get
into
the
some of
next
the leadership
generation
role,
trained
because we're
up.
gonna get burned out or whatever, you know?
Maybe
So,
this raise up next generation leaders down here,
yeah,
empower them.
yeah, I think that's really important for us, and I don't think we're doing a very good job of it.
Okay, good, good.
mhm.
George, anything in here hit you at all?
I think for us, it is number 3 on the discipleship strategy, because I think the larger your church goes, there needs to be more intentionality of trying to make sure people don't get stuck along the journey.
Yeah,
And so just being more intentional with getting people from point A to point B in our process. And
yeah.
I think that was something that just continues to
Mm,
be something that, you know, people fall through the cracks when you're a larger church. Um, that's a factor even pre-COVID. And now that we're not just now trying to figure out who actually attends our church,
right.
that has become a strategy. We're blessed to have our leaders are very empowered. So, you know, I would say that number 3, and more just the follow up and follow through of connecting people is the challenge for us. And we, you know, as an action step, we just within the last 3 months actually have a full-time staff member that his title is engagement pastor, and that's all he does.
Ooh,
Is,
good.
move people from the front door to the you know, if you could say a fully, you know,
Devoted follower.
mature devoted follower of Jesus Christ. So we have a senior level leader that's all his job is engaging.
Yeah. Getting people through that and making sure that process is clear of how to be involved in it. That's great.
We use this COVID, you know, I like the fact that Tony and Amy both talked about blaming COVID for some of the stuff you're going to do that you wanted to do
I
anyway.
like that too.
Um,
Yeah,
that
it was COVID's fault. It wasn't.
Yeah,
It
it
wasn't
was.
George's or Mark's fault. It was COVID.
exactly. And we're using, you know, this COVID time and some uncertainty about our physical gatherings to really, we've done a pretty significant restructure. So
Yeah. Good. Good. Well, one of the things I've learned in COVID was I'm replaceable. But who would that be? And I just did a session at 1 o'clock on succession planning best practices. Had Glenn Gunderson and a couple other pastors, Fred Snyder and Glenn Myers from Rancho Cucamonga. Had a great discussion. And I shared with them that one of my wake up calls was having COVID this year, being in a wheelchair for 45 days. And it's still 9 months later, and I'm not 100% healed. And I'm saying to myself, okay, thank you that I'm not dead, Jesus. Appreciate that. And I'm hopefully going to get better with your power and me doing the right things. But what if I was gone? Who's the next leader? Now that's a pastor question. It's also for a person even at TM. Who would be the next leader? So one of the things I've been working on for about a year is who would take over each one of the different areas that I supervise. Who's the champion of that area?
Yeah.
And I have champions in certain areas and other areas. There's nobody that knows that except for me, and that's just not good.
Right.
I
we
need to
call that
develop.
the hit by a bus.
Exactly. And sometimes that bus might be driven by somebody like Willie Nolte or Doug Mott. That would be bad. Or a board member. Yeah. Yeah. But it could happen. And in an emergency, what's the plan? So that's one of the
Pastor talks about that too. He says, you know, that how it used to be, like if you were candidating, you know, it was a big secret that you were going to leave, and big secret that you were like kind of spying on the church, you know.
Yeah.
But now we shouldn't make it a secret anymore. We should say, you know, I'm probably going to retire in a year, and you know, start bringing somebody else in as an associate or something, so there's a smooth
Yeah.
transition, you know.
Well, Sharon, you might be interested. Have your pastor watch the session I led today. It'll be online on our website. It's
Oh, yeah.
uh, Pastoral Succession Best Practices. And I think he would get a lot of ideas. Three of the pastors out of the three were all grooming their own proteges to take over.
So where's that on the Unstuck page?
No, that's on our website at
Oh,
tmchurches.org.
yeah. Okay.
And then you'll see on the front, it'll say, here's all of our webinars. There's a page that says that. When you click on that, it'll show you. That one's not on there yet, but it will be in the next few days. He could watch that anytime.
Yeah, that's
Might be
good.
helpful.
I'll let him know.
Hey, Mark, I got to step off. I really apologize. I have a 4 o'clock appointment, but
Not a problem. We're just about to close down. And thanks for being with us, George. I don't think there's
It's
a
good
reason.
talking to you.
Yeah, good to meet you, George.
I have
So,
thoroughly, Art, Sharon, I want to tell you, I have thoroughly been blessed and enjoyed my time with you all. I actually just look forward to just chatting over that, and hopefully I can get over to Hawaii and we get a cup of coffee together, Sharon, and Wahiwa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Art, would love-
Hey, one way to solve these problems, bring all the experts so we meet up in Waikiki.
There you
Or
go.
well,
There
yeah.
we go.
So I
I've
just
seen-
want to express how much I've enjoyed meeting with Art and Sharon. Well, Mark,
Yeah.
meeting with you has been, well,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
I was going to say, George, if you can't make it to Hawaii, I'm
Irvine's-
about 8 miles from the beach. We're close to
Yeah.
Seal Beach. You can come down here. I can meet you down there. It's a
That
nice-
sounds great.
What's a
Yeah,
good
nice.
place? We can all meet there.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll have a class reunion or something. I'll let Sharon, I'll put you in charge of that.
Oh my, okay.
I'm empowering the next
It's
generation.
not the
leaders.
first time I've been in charge of a TM reunion.
Well, you guys have a blessed rest of your day, and we will see each other, if not here in eternity. So great.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All
See
right.
you later.
George.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
All right. See you later. Hey, and for Sharon and Art, thanks for doing all this and being in this. One of the things that impacted me today when I listened to Tony, he says, uncertainty never fades away.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
I'm going like, uncertainty never fades away. You mean I'm always going to be dealing with this?
Yeah.
Yes. Which is why you should have a strategic plan at any time, even
Mhm.
when it's uncertain or when you think it's certain. And I'll just say this to you two. I have a daughter who lives in San Diego, and the interview that Amy did with Venture Church, the guy's name is Troy, the pastor.
Uh-huh.
There's no TM church in her area, but I've been looking at that church. They actually interviewed me years ago to be their executive pastor, and at the time they were very
Uh-huh.
small and a church plant. But I was excited just to meet Troy online because my daughter is what I'd call a postmodern Christian, doesn't go to church anymore,
Mhm.
has a family right in the neighborhood. And I'm going, that's the church I've already been looking at. And then when she brought him online, I go, okay, this class has meant something else because I'm going to connect my daughter up with Troy
Yeah.
church and see if she and her husband and two little girls, our granddaughters, will end up there. Maybe there's some connection that comes out of this course. But I've
Yeah.
enjoyed connecting with the two of you so much.
Yeah, we've enjoyed you too.
Yeah, it's good to connect up and get input and
Yeah.
some
Maybe there'll be another TM seminar where we'll meet up. Who knows?
yeah.
Yeah, well, we're doing these webinars are newer. I will tell you the one that Tony just did. There's a master class called Aligning your staff and church with your strategy. I think it's on alignment. That one he just finished about 2 weeks ago. But these courses are all available to you guys. You can get into them if you see one that you're interested in. Just give me a ring and send me a note and say, hey, Mark,
Mhm.
how do I find that pastoral succession one? Or can I get in that alignment unstuck thing? Or you guys are TM churches. We just want to help you any way we can. So those resources are all for you. Just when you find something and you have questions, send me a note and go, hey, Mark, how do I get in here? Can I? I keep trying to set up more partnerships like this that we can use their materials to help empower our leaders to be the very best that we can for the kingdom. So glad we could walk through this together.